I
Yay.
see audio. I think things are working. I'm going to get some windows up with some chat.
The technology these days, man.
Things we can accomplish. And I hear us.
I can hear me singing.
Yep.
Okay, I got to get the chats up so I can see the chats.
Yeah, I'm just bringing those up myself.
Where are you,
We
chat?
have technology.
Do we have people?
Oh, well, that's a whole nother question.
Oh, wait.
You're not allowed to have people anymore.
Shouldn't I call them people? Is that a bad word now? People? Peoples of... I can hear my... Okay.
I'm so confused.
Perfect. Okay. We have a person. Hello.
That's more than none.
I love that tech is so ubiquitous. It's either someone sitting there being, I am a god of technology, or someone going, I'm so confused, I don't understand what's going on. There's nothing in between.
All right. Cool.
JB Blanc, the voice of Vander from Arcane, he's making videos for the Toronto Comic Con. I said, make an Imaria one now. And he's like, I feel so violated by you right now. And I just smiled. Which power would you like? No.
All right. Let me double check that all of our mics are working the way I would expect them to.
Me.
Yours and mine, like, they should all be correct, but I suspect a couple of the ones on the table are currently live when they shouldn't be.
Oh, no.
So, like, if I were to do this,
Is this
it
one
would
live?
probably
Right.
sound pretty weird.
Oh, I see. So let's just not do that.
Well, let's not go crazy.
No slamming the table.
Give me a talk, Tom, real quick.
Here's the talk.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Hello. Do I
So
sound
we'll mute
good?
that, and we'll mute that. And then we have just the three of us.
We can't do anything by working with each
I have
other.
Twitch open. Nobody is currently yapping at us on Twitch. If you're on Twitch and you're not yapping at us,
I always find streams like this fascinating because, it's actually streaming right onto the page. I always find streams like this fascinating when we do nothing for socials. We just do nothing at all and just go live and do nothing.
Yeah.
It's like packed with people. But as soon as you promote it, nobody comes to watch it.
yeah, they're like, we don't.
It's like,
come on,
what? I'll watch it later.
Give me a break.
Give me a break. But we are here talking about Imarian lore, and we're going to talk. Oh, there's Racer. Hello.
Racer's yapping.
And he agrees.
Racer's here. Was it what Racer agrees?
Well, he says, yeah.
Yeah, he agrees. And we can just begin talking about some mechanics.
Yeah,
and
we're going to
stuff.
talk about some Imaria stuff, and then throughout, people may ask questions about the Patreon or back.
Interesting. It's going to be a hazard, which you don't see too often. I don't see a lot of people making hazards.
Hazard.
Yeah. You know, like green slime, yellow
Oh,
mold.
oh yeah, those are
brown mold.
great.
Yeah. It's the blood thistles that...
Is that it was silent. Like when our characters were going through it, there's really no sound. Like if you walk through like a tulip field or a poppy field, there's like nothing. Like it's just like walking through grass. There's very little in terms of like its interaction or sound. Whereas most hazards and traps have like something
You don't know it's
per round.
doing it.
It's not even per round. It wasn't it per. You had it as per 5 feet that we.
The
So
area.
you don't feel that you're getting cut until
Right.
you're just getting drained. And as you're walking, you're like, why am I getting drained? And you look down, and there's like this blood splatter.
Yeah, I had to
everywhere,
put a
and you're
note in there that says, silently keep track of the damage the party takes. And when they become bloodied, maybe describe that they feel a little lightheaded. They look a little pale.
like- and then when they
And then
fall
when they hit
over
zero,
and
they
die,
just collapse.
yeah, when they collapse into it, they take death
Yeah.
saves.
Yeah, but the great thing is the party doesn't need to tell the DM that they've harvested it and have put it in front of all of his enemies for all future campaigns.
I mean, spoiler
'Cause
alert
if
for.
the DM can be a jerk, the players can be a jerk.
I mean, spoiler alert for Chumps Change. It's true, right? For Chumps Change, when we discovered that we had to run through that field in a fight to deal with it, that's the one time that the Keymaster dashed through the entire field and just.
Well, see, when you dash into a field like that, that's when you're that's when it's fun to be like, cool, you just
What the Keymaster does, right? He levels the playing field, levels the poppy field.
But yeah, having the party like running away from something, dashing through a field like that, and just being like, yeah. So at the end of your round of movement, you just took 20 each you for the rest of your life.
Dun, 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 dun. Well, normally on these things we talk about. We've been going through. No.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're today especially. We're just kind of we'll talk about whatever you think is a good thing to talk about. What's your favorite part of the book? What's your favorite mechanic?
Oh, what What?
Those are two probably separate questions.
Oh, I don't know, man. I mean, the mechanics are everything to me as a mechanics guy.
Yeah.
But, I mean, damn, Adrian, why would you ask that question? My favorite part of the book. I'm gonna go to the mechanic first. I'm gonna go to the mechanics question first. What's my favorite mechanic of the book? I think my favorite mechanic. Damn it! I'm like, I was like, oh, it's easy. It's this. Wait, no, that was also good too. I really like this. This has been my. I love using. This is great.
You have a polyamorous relationship with Imaria.
I'm very polyamorous, so I am as poly as I can get when it comes to my relationship.
Yeah, well, so I mean, I gotta say one of the nice. It's one of the smallest things.
What is the luck roll?
It's where you have to roll 2 d20s consecutively, and you want your second d20 to be and still be considered lucky. Is when they're both a 20, because come on.
Because come on.
And then if I were the DM, I'd give them super luck at that point.
That you have a heart attack at this
Yeah.
point. Like
Yeah,
you just
you
buckle
just
over
die.
having a heart attack in the
You
middle.
just die. Okay.
You not only failed to vault the pit, but it just got wider by your attempt.
Spikes impale up from the roar from the floor.
It obviously is going to be something Aeon Sage related. Favorite mechanic of the entire system is the mana drain.
Okay.
Objectively, I think it is the coolest mechanic. Counterspell the way the new rules have done it, but counterspell, absorb, and then utilize that action to D&D or role-playing games of similar fantasy nature or whatever, since like the 80s, the 70s, the 90s, all those eras. You would know that wizards and magic users, up until probably 5th edition, and even in 5th edition, but up until 5th edition, wizards were always
You basically were unmatched. It would take an entire party to take out a higher level wizard because they would have all these spells and all these contingencies and all these things. Whereas surviving as a low level wizard was to become powerful.
Right.
Whereas martial classes in the older editions were a lot more of a linear progression. It was more of a, you steadily get better at what you do, but it's always kind of the same. It's more so equidistant. Whereas the wizard was a very much a
But even in 3rd edition, and in 3.5 and 3.75, which is Pathfinder, like even in Pathfinder and all that stuff, wizards are still pretty top of the game. Or magic users.
magic using
full magic users.
again, even in
Clerics.
5e, I'd say arguably if you have full casters are just their power level is kind of unmet.
The mana draining capabilities of the Eltherians or of the Weave Breakers, because they are a high magic world's check and balance to unwieldy magic. A power word kill goes.
Normally, it's you have to have 100 or less hit points, you just die. The new version is if you have more than 100 hit points, you just take 20 d6 damage or something.
Oh.
Now there's a little bit. It's not just a waste of a 9th level slot if they're not weak enough.
So I guess what I'm saying is that for a character to be able to just do that, majority of the classes that are going to be going up against a wizard that does that is going to get smoked. Maybe not barbarians and high constitution characters that can soak the damage.
There's a bunch.
There's a bunch, but I mean, hard to find. Like, there's so many tricks. If I've done it. Eke is a half caster, but I've done things with Eke that you're like, how, right? Even without the temporal powers, just clever spell casting. And I think the Mana Weaver or the Weave Breaker class is a check and balance for that. And originally when it was built in such a way, in the early editions when it was built, essentially it was built for 3rd edition and then was developed for Pathfinder mainly. We also had a Savage Worlds version of it and a 4th edition version of it. And originally when they were built, those characters, or the Weavebreaker was heavily skewed on being able to have an item that if the item was missing, like a spell book, they were gone, or they had to have magic to become good. We've now class, right? That's objectively my favorite. I love the Weavebreaker and its mechanics. Subjectively, it's going to be something in the Aeon Sage category because I love time and manipulation of time. Since I can't do it in real life, I want to be able to do it in all of my games. I gameplay and in theory. And I'm torn between, I'm trying to figure out what I appreciate as a fun mechanic. Moreover, what is the most useful in a game setting. Because obviously Temporal Secrets, which for those of you that don't know, Temporal Secrets is a temporal power. It's a manipulation. Go into a person's eyes and you can go back in time and you witness their memory as if it were happening. So you're not reading a surface thought. You're not getting their character's subjective opinion on what they're thinking about. You're not reading how they're interpreting the scene. You're literally going through their soul and you're watching them play the scene out from their perspective. So it's not how they feel and how they act. It's how the scene played out from their eyes, which is very, 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 it's very objective. Because then you are now interpreting what you're seeing. I find that fascinating as a mechanical development as to how we did that. Like that's like breaking so many foundations of how to play the game.
Well, it's kind of the thing about the Aeon Sage. The Aeon Sage is kind of, one could argue that they don't have a lot of like interesting, do all kinds of weird things that can improve the narrative structure. Part of our design discussions around it was there's a lot of options. You want to design options that are actually going to get picked. Otherwise, you want to avoid the issue of, well, these are the 10 best ones. I'm just always going to pick those. Why would I pick these other ones? So we tried to make. Wizards has experimented with this with a couple of subclasses here and there, but they tend not to do that kind of thing for I think a reasonable reason, which is that they're creating things for the vast majority of the player base.
Right.
The play test, where the types of people who show up with an Aeon Sage, they've picked a wide array of manipulations. They have very specific ideas of how they want to thinking outside the box rather than just brute forcing their way through everything. If you want to brute force your way through stuff, we have other options for that. But the Aeon Sage is specifically the Aeon Sage is specifically designed to give you a toolbox of things that always allow you to engage and interact with the story and with the world. It is really great to have someone use something like Temporal Secrets and be able to basically give like a cutscene of what happened. But on the other hand, you have to always kind of have that stuff in the back of your head. But honestly, it's not that different from like Speak with Dead in the grand scheme of things. It's just something to kind of be aware of.
Is it buffering?
Just started a minute ago.
I wonder if it's other people's internet stuff.
No, it's our upload.
Yeah, is there someone else uploading, you think?
Probably.
Is it Paul?
Uploading something a minute ago.
With like a little version of like Leroy or something, just like
We just need functional internet.
yeah, I know. But that would also be fun.
Yeah. So for the occasional bit that gets through, we are working on it. We will see what we can do to fix it.
Bits and bytes.
Yeah, there's at least 8 bits to a byte, but right now we're only sending 7, which is the problem.
And IP addresses have ocelots.
That's not quite correct, but uh-oh. Held for review. Nigel chewing wires in the modem. Why would that be held for review?
Because it's promoted.
Held that for review. Kiwi Messiah said Nigel chewing the wires in the modem. And YouTube
That
was
seems
like,
fine.
That's
really weird.
Yeah. Occasionally we're getting some frames through. Once in a
Yay, the frames.
Yeah, once in a while.
The frames. They give me the frame things nicely.
Yeah, once in a while we're getting some frames through. It seems to be maybe... Oh, no, never mind. I was going to say it seems to be maybe getting better, but... I think it's recovering. Yeah, it's recovering.
Hey!
Yeah, I think we're mostly back here. Mostly.
Even after that entire pre-conversation with Paul about not uploading any Battletech.
Well, yeah, it was recovering. I think we're getting there. I think we're gonna get there.
It's ramping up.
Yeah,
building momentum.
Wow, even when you cancel it, I suspect that. Yeah, we're green.
It's gonna have to.
Yeah.
I presume when you just cancel a Google Drive update, it doesn't immediately halt all traffic. It likely has a bunch of severs all the connections.
For the moment,
and ties
everything seems like it's getting better. So
green means go.
Green means go. Yeah.
Looks like we're back.
We were just chuckling about the YouTube auto mods withholding Kiwi Messiah's message that Nigel was chewing through the wires in the modem.
Yeah, I don't know why that would get
auto modded.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. It's like, what part of that statement? warranted auto moderation.
Chewing through, maybe.
Maybe I
don't know.
Anyways,
All right, so I was talking about. So we.
Well,
we were just saying that the Aeon Sage is a great class for those who like to have options versus like just straight damage dealing.
Well, I was giving a long-winded roundabout answer to Adrian's question of what's my favorite mechanic.
Yeah.
And it was difficult because
suspend.
there was so okay. I was gonna get there. Thanks for stealing my thunder. Suspend. Okay, I'm gonna talk to you. No, I was gonna say, yeah, suspend. It has to be suspend. I was gonna go backward in time and be like, a temporal sequence was amazing. I really like lesser reversal is a much more interesting way to restore objects in game than mending or any of those natures. It is like literally you're using your action to take an object, a non-magical object that was broken, and you're restoring it to within 24 hours of its time. So you can't go find like an ancient urn and restore the ancient urn and then have a priceless urn to sell, because if it was broken for 1,000 years, it's broken for 1,000 years. But if if a party member has, you must bring this vase to the prince as tribute, and if an Aeon Sage has this reversal, they can restore it back. And it was inspired from that scene in Doctor Strange where he's going back and forth with the apple.
Yeah.
That's where I'm like, there's a mechanic there. Yeah. There's an ability for a D&D chronomancer. But you're right. My favorite ability of the entire show.
I assume you really enjoy that Doctor Strange movie, because the climax of that film is great.
The entire film is, if it wasn't for Cumberbatch fan, I think he's great. But whatever.
I think he was a good choice for the character.
He's incredible. He's an incredible actor. I just saw Into the Darkness last night for Star Trek, and he played Khan. He was so good. He's so good. I'm a Chris Pine guy, but I'm also a Chris Hemsworth, and I'm also Steve
Pratt.
Rogers. No, he's the only Chris I don't like. What's this? Steve Rogers. Chris. Is it Chris? That's Captain America.
Yeah.
Isn't that Chris Pine?
It's Chris Evans.
Chris Evans. Thank you.
Sorry.
Pine is Captain.
Fucking many Chris's.
Pine played Captain Kirk in the new Star Trek movies.
That's right.
He also played Robert the Bruce when he got out of a river naked. Primo. By the way, that was not. I did. He guest starred as Snuffleupagus on Sesame Street.
Yeah. No, the timey-wimey stuff is super fun.
Well, if anyone's watching new, suspend, just to describe what suspend is, as a reaction, you can freeze a moment in time. Suspend is one of the most meta abilities that is playable, whether in almost any style of gameplay.
You've used it in every game you've ever played in where you had it.
100%. But I mean, like, even the style, like, imagine in a game with Kyle where it's very mechanics driven, and he won a lot of
conversations for
I
about
want to
2 or
get
3
back to that. That was I was having
that
fun
was
with
fun.
That. Yeah.
I think we should have a sub-theme conversation that we always have in character that starts when we fight.
Yeah.
Hey, want to get back to? Yes, I do.
Yeah. No, we
what I was thinking was, it's just like, and have those, just see if we can have a group dialogue, like a group think. Like, let's brainstorm an idea while in combat and see if we can keep the group think done and have somebody in chat record it and see at the end if it's a broken game of telephone or if it's an actual conversation.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fun.
That would be fun to do. But also, so suspend is, as a reaction, you can suspend a moment in time, and for 1 minute of real time, which the DM can time by being like, go. For 1 minute in real time, everything freezes, no actions can be taken except for the free action of speech. And if you have telepathy going, you can do it through telepathy. But you can't, like, drink water. You can't take any of the other free actions that happen. You have to, like, you are completely frozen, and you can have a conversation. And that conversation means that all characters in character or out of character can plan, manipulate, converse, but they can only do it in a 1 minute time span, which you can get a lot done in 1 minute unless you're playing with Keith Baker. You can get a lot done in 1 minute of conversation. He likes to ramble, like I am right now. And that, I think, is my favorite mechanic that was made for Imaria.
Also leaves some great moments when someone's mid-hurl. Suspend goes off.
What's your favorite mechanic?
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. What's your favorite mechanic?
Yeah.
My favorite
plunging?
Mechanic? So, no, I mean, I think some of the stuff with the Desperado Rogue is fun. With like the fail forward table, it's good fun. It's subtle. The Naranian, some of the backstory stuff in terms of like Naranian giants having like a strong oral tradition so that they don't forget anything for the last like few days, I think is legendary because it really screws with the, it's one of those. No longer is it. Do I happen to remember what that looked like? It's like yes, you do. You absolutely do.
That's because you have eidetic memory.
Yeah, just little things like that to me add so much. Just adds so much storytelling to the individual characters. It puts the onus on the character, not on the DM.
Yes.
That for me, that's the thing, because too many players coast through the game and never really partake in the storytelling. And I think anything that gives the player the reason to actually jump into the storytelling, to me, those are the DM mantle.
It's true.
But for players, almost.
Or if you're a control freak.
Yeah, well, those tend to be the bad DMs. But
What?
Just saying. Just saying.
So yeah, what's your favorite mechanic?
Well, I was thinking about
What's
it.
your favorite scary mechanic?
It's hard because
they're all good. No.
Well, it's kind of like it's the standard kind of creative thing of like, well, your favorite is the one that you're currently excited about. Like, it's the one that's we just came up with this cool idea.
Oh, I didn't know what yours is. Never mind. It's like you figured me out. I got you figured out.
What, the shanty stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not because it's a shanty, but because it's like the way bardic inspiration is used or whatever.
I really like splitting bardic inspiration out. I think.
Explain it. What is it?
So the way that the Nightingale Bard works is that they get the ability to spread out their bardic inspiration amongst the party in a group of D4s instead of putting out a D6 or D8 or
12,
whatever.
yeah.
And they can do more D4s the larger their die would normally be. Alternatively, they can put it in the center and they just start singing. And at any point, a player, when they need it, can grab it and use it. So because we've all been in that situation where you've given bardic inspiration to somebody because they're doing terribly, and then they just never need it forever. But then the guy next to them, all of a sudden, he's rolling and you're just like, oh my god. So having played bards a lot, because I do like the bard.
I love
Bard's a good class. That has been the frustration of choosing who to get your bardic inspiration, but also to always feel like you're always giving it to the wrong person, solves both those problems in one go. Just in general, I like the thematics of the Nightingale. It's one of the cleanest. There are a lot of people out there who've attempted to make a sea shanty bard. I know this because I've looked at them all, and none of them ever really have said the same thing.
Oh yeah.
And the whole class, the whole subclass is a reference. Like, if you understand anything about naval, maritime songs, and there's so many things in there.
Call and response.
Like Storm Along,
Heave-ho.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it'd be good to have four
The
shanty
fact that
bards.
it's called the Nightingale Bard actually is like a huge thing.
Right.
Yeah.
What about your favorite, because I know you said you like the whole absorb magic thing, but what about what piece of the world itself is your favorite? Do you think it's the Veil and all of the stuff that comes from that?
The Veil.
No, I mean the construct of it, like the fact that the chronomancy and all of that stuff comes from it.
For me now, okay, so old school me, before the rules of the world were properly fleshed out, back when I was creating stuff and had no idea. It was just a hodgepodge of ideas and had no uniting factor to it.
Yeah.
Or other creations from you guys putting into it to create that homogenization of what the world truly becomes. Like I said before, there was really no identity to it. When I started doing this world design stuff, I didn't do it with the mind of a game designer or creator. I did it as a documentarian to our D&D games back in the 90s. And so doing so, I just recorded every cool thing that came about.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was no real homogenization until probably the third attempt at trying to make a book. where I'm like, it's still not unique. This could be a world that you could pluck into any other world, and it would just be like another city or another continent. There's nothing to it that is like really pulling it out from the rest of the world. Right. So when we made this, as you would quote, biblical together, it was when we sat down that day in your office and went up to the board and I drew that diagram, and it's like, oh, so it started coming together, and then we realized that the pillars of power is sort of the defining factor of the world, which is why it's called the pillars of power. So for me, it's the actual concept of how the pillars of power interact that make Imaria so exciting to me, because the veil is a part of it, but the veil is a construct of the pillars of power. It's almost meta in the fact that the way the pillars of power work is that you've got your psionics, your mana, your ioessence, which is the anti-magic, and then your ethereal chronomancy, and those 4 pillars interact with each other the way or taking each other on. And in the pillars of power, it's the same kind of thing, whereas like anti-magic is the destructor of magic, obviously, so ioessence eats mana, mana creates noise to distract sonics, and sonics quaddimensionality cannot be absorbed by anti-mana, so it is the driving force against anti-mana, and they all keep each other in check. That, and then ethereal chronomancy is quite literally a shell that all 3 can tap into, manipulate, or be affected by. Yeah. That's the veil. The shell over the 3 pillars of power is the 4th pillar, that is just more like a weaved pillar, is really what it's kind of like, oh, that's awesome. Like that makes it work. And so, yeah, I think for me, my favorite aspect of the non-mechanical world of Imaria now is that anywhere in Imaria, any flavor tone, from Thornandria, which from the Northern Saiyans, to Phelan's Republic, which is our steampunk version of the world, Iunia, which is essentially Forgotten Realms, the homage to Forgotten Realms. It's most high fantasy, but it's very different. Yeah. But I mean, like, we're getting all these continents in there, but no matter where you go in Imaria, and whatever flavor, tone, or culture you engage with in Imaria, the pillars of power are the omnipresent thing. And it all depends on where in the map. And it's considered the weakest for mana. It is, and it is the weakest influence from the anti-mana. It is the most potent for psionics and technology. So those in combination give you that steampunk world. So if you go in there as a magic-wielding wizard and you're firing spells and stuff, you're going to draw a lot of attention. It's going to be a very interesting take. But if you get on a boat and sail for a half a month across the ocean to Tensar, which is the neighboring continent, and you get onto this jungles of Schult kind of place where it's just wilderness and bipedal anthropomorphic animals and a lot of like trees that are grown from mana and roots that are giving mana, that mixed with psionics gives you Tensire. And so when you get those 2 together, you get technology, and it's almost like an homage to, and not, I mean, like in the best way, but not in the worst way. It's hard to describe this. It's almost like a colonial battle where it's like nature and magic versus technology and the mind, right? And pollution, really. And so the 2 of them are at war constantly because they're neighboring countries, neighboring continents. And then you go across that, you go to Crimeris, which is the warlord territory, which is wrought with ioessence, like anti-magic. And a lot of mana still exists there. And so the fight between those 2 are always going to happen. So it's got this like weird wash until you get all the way to Iunia, which is the opposite spectrum to the Phelan's Republic, which is magic. And it's like, it's a magocracy where it's like magic is ruling, magic is cruel, magic is omnipresent everywhere you go, and there's no other influence, or the other influences that are there are kind of like brushed aside and not considered a threat because magic is so dominant. And then you blend it all together and you get this like cool pillar of power.
Yeah. Then you take, all the cultures and nations of each of those continents and how the pillars have influenced them. Like, in Iunia, for example, it is a magocracy where it's kind of just determined if you have magic, you are a upper class. You are a better class of citizen. And then you go over to Phelan's Republic, where if you have magic, you're kind of the weird guy. He's like, everybody's like, I don't know why that weirdo over there said he'd give me a potion that would heal me, but like that guy over there has like a bandage with like a salve on it. It's just as good. It's like, I don't know why this guy's like looking at a book and going woobly woobly. He should just learn science. It's way better. Way more reliable, You can actually have replicated results, unlike this guy who's got to like wave his hand and he slightly moves it too far to the right and all of a sudden he explodes everything.
Or replaces an acorn in a ritual.
That's right.
And causes a complete disruption. But yeah, these are important things, right?
Yeah. Well, where I think it gets really interesting is when you have a continent with multiple different pillars influencing it, and what those different nations are all kind of interacting with. Like certain areas Phelan's Republic, I think, is one of my most favorite places because of the fact that there isn't really a pillar. Like psionics is the strongest of the pillars of power, but it's sort of everything's all of the pillars are kind of dwarfed by just general like technological advancements. The nation is finding ways to do things beyond magic, beyond iOessence, beyond psionics, using their innovation and technology, and you kind of have this smorgasbord of all the pillars kind of just sort of. There isn't a pillar that has control of that area, so everyone has an interest in Phelan's, and everyone's trying to get their grip on the area. Whereas, like in Ionia, iOS doesn't stand a chance. Like it's just
it's been there, but when it is, it's either going to have a field day, as in like someone who's starving gets suddenly thrown into a buffet and they eat themselves to destruction, or it's going to be very subtle and it's just a slow burn that gets weeded out with heavy politics.
But I also like the idea that too much of one unbalances everything. Like Ionia is experiencing a lot of issues with the fact that mana is unchallenged.
That's right, and it actually makes it unhealthy.
Chimeras is experiencing issues with the fact that iOessence is unchallenged. One of the healthiest continents in terms of power balance is Thalagrand, and it's in a Cold War. But that's because there is a balance of the pillars.
There really is, isn't there? Because Travagno, it's still a continent to itself, but it's part of the overall, and it's got psionic issues.
Yeah, well, it's kind of got a lot of different. It's kind of Dravania is sort of what happens when all the pillars kind of just get worse. If you take all the bad parts of all the pillars and you just smush it together, that's Dravania.
Yeah, that's right. It's a place that's made of glass.
Yeah.
Everywhere you walk, you're stepping on glass.
Just a cursed land with cursed
people. Imagine walking through a field where all the blades of grass are just made of glass.
It's great when the wind picks up.
Rough.
Sucks when the wind picks up. People don't realize that glass dust is like the worst.
Yeah, the flay winds.
The flay winds, yeah. You die. Like how do you deal with that? You can't breathe.
No.
Yeah,
I mean, breathe for a little while.
Ever worked at a fiberglass? I worked at a fiberglass plant in my early years to try when making money was a thing.
Yeah.
When you had to do it hourly, and not stupidly and for entrepreneurially, which is yearly. It feels like. But when I was working like a job, I worked at this fiberglass plant. And I remember just the process of trying to like hazmat yourself up before going out to collect these giant strips of foam insulation for your houses. And people were like, you got to be super sealed up. People were like taping gloves and shit on. Yeah. And I was like, whatever. So I put the gloves on. I thought I was taken care of. And then I, after my first shift of thinking that I was taken care of and like accidentally like moved my glove up to scratch my arm for a second and then put it back down. And that was a mistake. And then what ended up happening is, by the way, worst shift ever. I apologize if anyone here watching is a fiberglass employee. My heart goes out to you. It's crazy. I used to have to go home and take hot, cold showers. Like I would go hot, long, because little bits of fiberglass would be stuck in my skin. I'm sure I was breathing that stuff in, right? Yeah. That stuff just cuts the shit out of the inside of your system. And there were people that had been working there for 10 plus years, hacking up a lung because they're probably just killing themselves.
I mean, I worked in a textile manufacturing plant for a couple months once, and we had this one computer that the power kept dying. It just wouldn't turn on anymore. And it happened about 3 times. We went through all of our spare power supplies. And so the head of IT is like, you got to go figure out what's wrong with this computer. So I did my rounds on the floor, and I saw a guy. It was right next to the fiberglass station. The guy was cutting through fiberglass piping, and all the shrapnel was flying into the power supply of the computer.
Good.
I was like, oh, that might be what's going on.
Yeah, that'll screw it up pretty good.
So we were able to we convinced the management to give us money to buy filtration bags to put over the computer.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, glasslands are not a place to mess with.
No.
And we have a place entirely made of glass, and so if you want to have a very obnoxious adventure in a place made of glass,
it's the place where the people slowly wither away to skeletons. And the fun thing is that if you're a skeletal man and you walk through the glasslands and a bunch of glass comes whizzing by, you're just kind of like, okay, you just keep going because you're like, what are they gonna do? Polish my bones? Like what?
It's like,
Meanwhile, the rest of your party's like, ah, just getting flayed alive.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that every continent offers a particularly different experience.
Yes.
There are there are some similarities, but there isn't like the Eltharian warlords in Crimeris are entirely different from the Eltharians over in Thalagrant. The Magocracy in Ionia is incredibly different from the Magocracies that you'd find in Thalagrant. Even the Hobgoblin nations are completely different in both. Like, I deliberately, when going through, I was like, I don't want there to be any similarities between any of these nations unless there's a reason to.
Right, but it wouldn't be like that in the real
exactly.
world. Like, you don't like Italian Canadians or Chinese Canadians, like Little Italy, Little China here in this country, have a lot of similarities, but it is not China.
You can just take Montreal and Paris, honestly.
Montreal and Paris. I mean, they are like. I mean, anybody from Paris is like, that is not French.
Yeah.
And anybody from Quebec is like, we hate them. I'm like, but you were them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's like
well,
there's no them.
I was gonna say the closest you'll get is like there's a settlement of Iacocans in Thalagrant, and like
You're talking about real life. I'm like, yeah, he was a famous fucking musician.
There's yeah. Their culture is very similar to the Iacocans over in Ionia, but there are some marked differences, and part of it has to do with the geopolitical location that they're in. It's like the ones over in Ionia are like this because of this. The ones in Thalagrant, they've got to worry about these other things, but also just the fact that they are a completely different group of tribes that are completely isolated from their homeland.
Mm-hmm.
They've developed a separate way of doing things based on their own situations, because over generations. That is what happens. You adapt to your environment, to your locale, and you have to. Generally, you kind of have to adapt and change the way that your culture works. But you can still see the telltale markings, like the hobgoblins of Ganabar and the hobgoblins of Shikarn. They have similar baselines.
Yes,
but you'll see the differences, and it has to do with where they are. In Ganabar, they're a lot more political. They treat politics like a war zone. They do the art of war, but take it in a negotiation area because they are in the middle of 5 other nations.
Right.
And they are the crossroads for all trade.
Whereas,
and so they're like, we should probably play nice with everybody because the last thing we need is some kind of ganging up on us. But then they have a group of other hobgoblins who are like, no, we should be taxing, we should be raiding, we should be like, what are we doing? This is crazy. Then over in Shikarn,
whoever wants to talk.
Right. Then over in Shikarn, those are the more like quote unquote the purists, where they're more about nomadic and raiding. Both cultures have a strong honor bound warlike culture. But one is more focused on treating the art of conversation as a war, and one is more about war as war.
We also should take into consideration that the culture of Alasia up in the sky spans across most of the continents. And that means that it is a vast nation.
It is. Well, it's a coalition.
It's a coalition of different collections of...
Lunalia on Alesia, they're sort of like forced to be one massive super nation because there is no room for fractured alignment. There is. I mean, there is. But realistically, like they're warring against a ceaseless, unending conflict. They don't really have time for interpersonal politics, really. Like they're just so focused, and it's not a surprise then that when there was interpolitic issues, it resulted in a splinter cell coming off and becoming like terrorists. Like it was a drastic thing, and I think over time, you might start to see more of that happen in Lunalia.
Well, I mean, even the fact that look, unfortunately the Imarian books don't go as deep into Alasia that we'd like.
It's treated as
another continent.
It's like 2 pages, basically.
And the same with Tharnandra, which is the underground.
Yeah,
which those two cultures are the two that are like world binding.
Yeah, they're arguably global nations.
They're global nations,
but they don't. There are nations that are not global that get more page space,
Which
just because there's more to talk about.
Right, but which makes it fascinating when you go to Iunia and deal with Alassian influence.
Well,
versus Phalanx Republic and Alassian
realistically, that's kind of the thing about things like Alassia, Lunalia, Tharnandria, the Helical Prime, because they're more insular. Their culture is specific to where their location. But you're right.
It's when they
interact with the other cultures that
exactly.
things are different. The way the Lunalians deal with Phalanx Republic is incredibly different from the way they would deal with Chimeras.
That's right.
You know, if you ran into a Lunalian on Chimeras who's a member of the Lunalian War Council or something, they'll probably attack you first because they don't know who you are and they don't trust you. Whereas in Phalanx Republic, they have a trade agreement.
Right.
And in Iunia, they're kind of just like barely even doing anything over there. Like they're fine to leave the Iunians to do what they do. They don't consider them to be much of a concern.
That's right.
Tharnandria is very similar, you know. But while both of them have their splinter cells that also can interact in different ways, it's more about the way they interact with the surface cultures that differentiates them, rather than at a glance. Which is why we'll have more attention maybe spent to Beowulf, because there's a lot more complexity to what's going on in Beowulf than there is in Lunalia. Lunalia is generally a united front.
That's right. Oh, there's a lot to it. I'm actually, in terms of like future projects, I'm actually extremely excited about really delving into Tharnandria and Alassia. I don't know if they would be their own books, but they definitely would be a book.
Well, I mean, depending on how macro level you want to go, anything
Ooh,
can be
Imaria,
its own
above
book.
and below.
Well, there
There
you go.
it is.
You could definitely take
Going up, going down.
I mean,
Imaria.
you can go as detailed as you like. We could do like a book on Chimeras and probably make it 250 pages.
Oh,
but we could also do a book,
Chimeras for sure.
right? But we could also do a book on Kenbia and make it 250 pages.
We probably could.
It really depends on how detailed you want to get. At that macro of a level, at that point, you're mapping out the entire nation. You're like, this is where all the cities are, all the towns are. This is every single one of them in detail. This is the entire government structure. This is, the entire legal structure.
Right.
You're not doing an at a glance like we are in Pillars of Power. You're doing a boots on the ground. This is everything you would ever need to know about running anything in this land.
And what's interesting is, for those of you watching, this is, from my perspective, the Marian world has always been the cool classes and mechanics, right? Even though the world is primarily incepted by my friends and I in the 90s, it has grown with so many groups of people over the years. And then when the Tome Keeper came in and like weaved it and then added some actual flavor to it, Ed Greenwooded it. You came in and you said, hey, which way do the rivers flow? And on the river, what's the commerce? What's the population densities?
If you were to come into the office while I was working on biblically rewording all of the cultures and lore, you would have seen I had two screens. One screen was the document. The other screen was Google Earth.
What?
Yeah, I was going around Google Earth and like looking at the geography of different areas and like the layout of cities and towns and like how they were interacting, and then I was using that as a reference point to then do similar things in Imaria to kind of have that base understanding.
Which is one of the many veins pumping the blood to the heart as to why I feel like this book has its own identity now. It's why I feel that Imaria, I'm very proud of what this book is, what's coming out, because it now feels like a setting.
Mm-hmm.
It's a setting. It's not just a collection of rules of cools sort of woven together in some weird acceptable format. It's now a setting. It's like you are now... The entomology is there, the biology is there, the geography is there, the Efi is there. Like everything is there. If it has an offie at the end, it's there.
If you've had the if you've had the Legacy of Mana book before and you were going through the chapter where it talks about the world, there's a lot of really cool ideas, and there's also a lot of sections where like it'll have a capital city and it'll just go on and on and on and on and on talking about that capital city. But then the nation itself, there's maybe a paragraph. So that was something I wanted to fix. I was like, that should be the other way around. The nation should be where all the attention is, and then the capital city should just be like, this is the capital city, this is why it's important, and this is what you need to know about it. And so that kind of switcheroo of the presentation was the primary driving force. The second thing I want to open the book to Chimeras, and everything's there.
Yep.
You don't need to be flipping between books, between pages. You don't need to jump around. Everything you need about Crimeris is there.
We're not sixth worlding yet? It's not like if you want to read about
No,
this part of the world, please go to page 306.
To the point where I was talking to Josh, our layout designer, and I was explaining to him, I was like, it's important for Chapter 3 that the layout is done in a way that you were never turning a page when you were running a game somewhere. So some of the nations are a 2-page spread, like Beowulf, because there's just, it's so complicated and so much going on, that if it's a 2-page spread, you just open the book and page 1, page 2. You don't have to flip back and forth to get the reference of information you need. Right. Everything you need is right there and presented to you. That was the goal going in, which was sort of difficult because it was kind of like, I had to look at a lot of lore that I'd crafted and decide what had to get cut, what had to get shortened, what had to get just straight up removed.
There was a lot.
Because it was important to me that we fit everything into that, because I didn't want to have one nation that was 5 pages long and then one nation that was 1 page. That they're both equally important. It's just one.
Why is one
we happen to have more ideas for at the time, right?
And sadly, we've had a lot of many years of playing, and the majority of the gaming since the 90s, it's been Thalogrant or Crimeris,
which are the two which originally in Legacy Mana were the two with the most development.
That's right. And then Ionia and Phalanx were kind of just. Well, I remember. I don't. You weren't in my life then. You came in as a friend later, but I remember in one of the earlier editions of the books when I was working on the map. At the end of Legacy of Mana, if you have the book, if you look at the back page, you see a couple continents. Mm-hmm. You'll see a hand-drawn map. I remember, I think that hand-drawn map, I do have a copy.
It's around somewhere.
I'm going to get it right now. I just want to make sure it's there. It's right there. I can still stay in while talking. I remember. Ooh, I got them all here. And I was going to bring these back up to my office. I'm so glad I didn't.
He's now the disembodied voice.
Look at this tome of histories. These are all the different versions of what I was trying to create so many years ago. Novels. There's the Pathfinder and the Savage Worlds ones. I think they have maps in them. Maybe I didn't. These were old school. There's a map of one Lunalian island in there. This one I think had it at the end. Yep, there it is. There it is right there. So that there is my original hand-drawn map, not the OG, because the OG was just Thalogrant. Mm-hmm. And then the game I ran Thalogrant. I added Dravanya, so in terms of on the 7th day.
Thank you, Kiwi Messiah, for pledging on the backer kit. That's
Kiwi
awesome.
Pledged?
Yeah.
Kiwi. Yay! Wow, it actually shows up 10xing so hard right now, guys. Slay. Anyway.
That's the wrong.
Yeah, okay. She slays. She slays everything.
No, I'm
She's
saying
amazing.
That's the wrong generation if you're trying to be Gen X.
No, I know. I'm saying slay to get out of Gen X.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Jesus. If I wanted to stay in Gen X, I'd be like Wicked Cool or Cowabunga. But it's like
there you go.
Yeah, I know my phrasings. Don't worry. Man.
All right, then.
SMH over here. All right. So anyway.
Oh my God.
Okay, so this was the original one I drew, and it was we had the M for the mountains, and this is where the Eltharians stayed in the middle, and the M was because the original place was called Margunda, and so the M of mountains, and that's why it was called that. It's because the M was the mountains protecting the Eltharian Empire from getting onslaughted, and they used to have all kinds of tunnels and stuff to come out and attack and try to kill all the magic nations around it. That's when Imaria was this.
Now it's the other way around.
And now it's the other way around. Now the Magocracy is in there defending
right.
against, using the mountains to defend themselves against an onslaught of Eltharians. Then I think the next thing we created was Dravanya and Gurn. Those came next. So this was my expansion when we started a new campaign in the 90s during the summer holidays. And then after that, it was... I then grew and we started redoing the campaign game, which was the second... I ran the same campaign a second time. First time I ran it for my friends with Kirk and all my old friends. Then I ran it again for a new group of folks. And they went through the exact same storyline with a completely different outcome. But it was kind of cool. It was my way of testing
it's usually how it goes, yeah.
And it was like very different. And then that group, and then what I did was I took that group and my OG group and I melded those stories together to create which was the origin story. I thought about running that campaign here for you guys because it's so complicated now that if I were to run it, you guys wouldn't know what's going on. But the decisions you would make, knowing the meta of the universe, how it was, it was the fall of an empire, which actually I kind of ran a sub story of the fall of an empire with a 6-episode arc here on the station. But when Gen
Xing again.
Gen Xing here at the station here at KYB 96 FM with Adrian. Adrian and T-Dog.
Oh, boomers.
Welcome. Oh, Boo Earns. Boo Earns was the things that.
Boo Earns.
That was a Simpson thing.
Boo
Yeah,
Earns.
he's
The acoustics in this room are terrible.
Right? So the Chimeras was built, and then Chimeras became the heart. Everything we developed in the early 2000s was all Chimeras based, and then Thalagrunt was kind of like, and then eventually it was just Chimeras. It wasn't until 2015 that 2015, when the Round Table opened, my board game cafe, that we ended up doing those large D&D events, which were Pathfinder back then, because 5e had just come out. We converted to 5e shortly after, but it was all Pathfinder. It wasn't until we did our huge D&D Pathfinder events where we ended up having 40 to 60 people playing D&D, and it was all set in this book that I was like, ooh, I better expand the world, not be smart and just focus on developing the stuff that's already there.
Yeah.
Let's just add more. And as a result, ended up adding, I don't think we have a full map in here. Oh, it's in here too.
Which book is that?
So that was the first 5e Legacy of Mana book that came out right before I got involved.
I thought that.
Which is why it's not as good.
So you did this book?
No, the one that you just had.
Oh, that one was that one came out with other people, but I don't know.
It's perfectly fine.
It's okay.
I read the whole thing in a single day.
It's not much to read. But this version, when we started developing again in 2015, 2016, then I just went into the old map and I just drew a bunch of shit. And I drew the 4 continents and created Phelan's Republic and called it Phelan's Republic. I had no idea what I was doing with it yet. Did the same thing in Iunia, and then I'm like, it's too linear. We need to have a North Pole, South Pole. So Paromia, the 2 islands. I did like the Yin Yang islands, and then at the top I just smeared sand and created.
Which in that book it's like a paragraph for the whole continent.
For this one?
No, for that one.
Oh, for this one?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I just added some stuff to it.
Yeah.
And then so we kind of added, and then developed its own identities. Tensire was built as well. But Tensire was another continent from an old game I played back in the early 2000s, and I just I took the old map out, slapped it on beside Primaris, and created the world.
Listen, if it works the Moonshays, it can work for us.
The adding all that on then gave us what we now consider the final map. And then I'm like, is that the end of it, or is there room to grow? Because I'm always thinking about the fact that for the rest of my life, provided I live for a significantly decent time or life expectancy, I'm still around for another 20 to 30 years. At least 3 more weeks. I always think about the fact that I've become obsessed with publishing this book and getting it out into the world now, and this is what I want to do, and this is my entire life's dream. So I don't want to pigeonhole the fact that, and this isn't how I think anymore, but I didn't want to pigeonhole everything into the 94 continents that I already put on there. I'm like, there must be more to develop. So we made the storm wall.
Yes.
And the storm wall separates the world. So I wish we had the map on us right now. So the entire spread of continents has, if you were to take it like an actual atlas and roll it together like a planet, like the way we can our world, on a piece of paper. Here we go. Thank you. All right. On paper, that if this was our real world, on paper, North America and Pacific Asia are a body of water apart. Whereas in this one here, if you follow the same logic, Phelan's Republic on the one side and Iunia on the other side are not connected by a body of water. In fact, rumor has it, and this won't be something that happens for years, rumor has it that is only 1/2 of Imaria's globe. Yeah. And that the storm wall is preventing travel to the other half. which means that we have an option to develop a complete other part of Primaris
And the
or a
Yeah,
section.
that's
Other
where all the
side of
islands with
Fillory is where magic comes from.
I was gonna say that's where all
It's a
the
magician's
that's where all
reference, don't
the
worry about it.
that's where all the panda people live. In the unexplored regions that have always been there. Totally.
So we don't know. I don't know what that even means. We don't.
Some of you out there know what I'm talking about.
Is that a millennial reference? No. But in reality, so we don't know where we can go with it. We don't know if we'll do anything with it. We just put ourselves into that position so that way we're not.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, we can theoretically work with what we've got for a very long time without running out of things to do. But
We do have a roadmap based on the success.
if we ever kind of get a spark of inspiration and we are like, what would be really cool is like an entire nation that does this. We're like, well, where would we put it? Well,
Stormwall.
now we have an option.
There are some things in discussion right now about what goes beyond the storm wall. We won't see it for a couple of years.
Probably
We're
not,
going to
yeah.
slow down. We're going to get this book out, and we're going to get all these books out. And then we have a slow burn development for the next book that's coming in the Imarian series, and that will be about the Veil and the Vestige Realms. So we'll have some fun there. And then after that, we have ideas as to where to go. But if so long as these books keep doing well, and of course we've got a significant amount of backers on the backer kit that in one day, a little over one day, have basically beaten the previous campaign.
Which was kind of what we were gunning for.
Yeah,
really.
and it just means that the steady uptick, the steady curve, actually means that this will have some girth to it, and it's interesting because people will. You'd always see if people want it or not. And there's a lot of new people on that backer kit. A lot of the original backers are there supporting it for the new pins and things like that. And it's very minor
Those
in
pins
terms
are
of the
great.
financial investment on their part. But it just means that they're there, and it's a minor portion of what this number is. Significant, not discredited. What is interesting is of the new backers, a significant chunk of them are new, interested folks in the world of Imaria, which is very good for us as creators and publishers and designers and all that stuff to see that the people, there are at least more than 10 people that are interested in playing in your world beyond the other 100 or 2 that are waiting to
Well, it's
join.
always kind of interesting to me because, like, we have the Imarian nights at Roundtable every week. I've had 1 or 2 people who attends those come up to me and say, "Hey, I want to run Imaria at this convention," or "Hey, I want to run Imaria at this community center near where I live. Can I do that?" I'm like, "Yes, please do." Like,
right?
I'll give you whatever you need. What do you need? Do you want additional references? Do you want some stat block? I'll give you what you need. What do you want? I'll give you adventures. Let's go.
Absolutely. I am very certain it is because the growth curve is significant now compared to the early days when we used to go to Gen Con with we used to go to Gen Con, and I don't know if you've been around long enough to hang out with us from the Lynn Vander team back when these were there. I've only ever printed a couple hundred of each of these. They were like self-printed, basically. They're floppy disks. But I mean, like, look how old that logo is. Oh my God! So these are very old, and we only had them at oh my God, Michael Edwards was the Devin of that book. 2012 was when this was printed. He was a big fan of Savage Worlds. He designed the Savage Worlds setting.
It's a good system.
It's a great system. I appreciate most systems that are out there. All that remains, and they're my copies that are sitting in my upstairs playtest copy. That's what's left. They sold fairly quickly. So that was an interesting thing to see, which meant to me that if I could sell 200 copies of this thing at a show floor at Gen Con with a little tiny 10x10 and like next to no signage, then that was my first level of indication. The one thing I've always had issues with when it comes to Imaria or any of my game design stuff or publishing, whatever, is just the marketability of it, just getting it out to the world to see all these different versions of it, and then not having the right identity or, quite frankly, aligning with the right team members to finish the project as necessary. Myself included, being, wanting to create the world and then walking away when the hard work needs to be done. So having to do the harder work is important, or at least teaming up with the people that are willing to do it. But now that we're there, it's interesting to see Imaria flourishing, and it is flourishing. Like it is growing. The backer kit is only one part of it, and it is growing on backer kit. But we have 23 days to see how many more backers we get involved. I'm suspecting we're going to be somewhere, 500 plus, which is a very good amount of people to get involved in. We are going to be printing the book. There was an interesting question that someone wrote that I want to, that not on the chat here, but it's an interesting question that someone wrote about if it would be in retail.
Yeah, in the Discord I saw that. Yeah,
I don't know if it will be. I started thinking about it because I'm very traditional in the sense that it's like publish a game, put it into retail. We have the distribution capabilities, and there's no reason why we wouldn't try. But the market is weird that way. And I'm just wondering if there's a world. There is a world in which it doesn't go to retail. There's a world in which it goes on a Lynn Vander site and gets sold exclusively direct and or at conventions.
Well, it'll always probably be available at conventions.
But what do you think of that idea? And I'll tell you my logic after, but I want to know your opinion.
I mean, the thing for me is if I'm going to a store to buy a book, it is there's a very specific reason why. Like, it's very rare that I go to the local game store and browse. I'm not that kind of person. I'm like, I want this book. I'm going to go to the store. Do you have this book? Yes, cool. I would like that book. Thank you for the book, and then I will leave. Now, I know not everybody is like that, but that's me. I have bought a couple of third-party D&D products. All of them I have ordered online. A, because they're not available through retail, and B, because it was just, I just would prefer to do that. Like, I'd rather get it from the people who made it than buy it from some LGS somewhere. Not that I don't mind LGSs. It's just more like, yeah, I mean, there's a reason why I go to Trading Post to buy stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's like there's a certain degree of, I could buy this stuff directly from Wizards of the Coast, but I don't. I go to the store and I buy it. Right. But in the purposes of something from a third party thing, I bought Chris Metzen's 5e. I bought a really nice box set of that years ago. It's very nice on my shelf. And then I bought some stuff from James Olin. That's really it. And those I all bought directly, as direct from the source as I could.
Right.
So I don't think, me personally, I don't think I would go to a game store to buy something like this. I would go onto a website and buy it from the manufacturer, personally. Right. But I'm curious on Adrian's thoughts.
Yeah, what's your thought on that?
My thought is I would buy the PDF.
That's a fair point.
It would also come from the site, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't really buy a PDF from an LGS.
No. So the short answer is people are going to hate me for saying this.
No,
but it's the simple truth. The day of physical gaming is
okay. I hate you for this.
Pretty much over.
No, it's not.
It is.
I agree with you.
It is a dying form. It is. We are very close to being able to play convincingly in virtual reality, and as soon as we can do that, the upcoming generation will never do anything else.
So, okay.
Until 30 years pass and it becomes retro.
And then it becomes vinyl.
Kind of like vinyl.
I think that you're...
In 30 years, you will not be able to tell the difference between being in person.
I mean, that's
and
fair.
being in VR.
So, I agree with you to a degree. I always think that humanity will always go to a tactile form, regardless. But the business model of selling paper products is a dying form. If not, it's dead. It's just now in the embers of its fire. That I can agree with you, which is why I think I've come to the head math of putting it in retail is difficult, because retail right now is only going to be for the biggest, craziest successes, such as the ones who have the dominant marketplace, like Pathfinder, the Borgs are starting to take that thing, and then D&D.
I would be willing to bet that if Pathfinder published their sales, you would find that they're already 80% digital.
Oh, the digital's there, but the market is still too big to discount
for sure.
printing.
Yeah.
For the larger people like what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, like if I were to say, like Imaria is not a big enough world, as indicated by the fact that we are 200 deep, as opposed to 20,000 deep, which is what something like Avatar would have, right? But even then, 20,000 deep for Avatar, I would love to know what the sales of Avatar, the RPG, are in the stores. People do like collectible items, though. Even though, like, I will buy a book just to do what I'm doing behind you, Devin, and put it up on a shelf, right? I'll buy the stuff just for the sake of having the artifact. I like that stuff, and I know that there's a sliver of me that does this. Would my children do the same? Likely not. They're born of a generation where everything's on a phone.
Yeah. Well, so Blizzard already solved this particular conundrum a while back. They don't sell. While they do technically sell physical copies of the game, but not really.
They sell statues that come with a code.
They sell collector's items, yes. So, for instance, in the case of Imaria, you don't sell the physical book. I'm not saying now. I'm saying, 5 years from now, whatever. You don't sell the physical book. You sell a special, ornate suspend timer.
Oh, my God. Wouldn't that be the coolest thing to build?
Whatever collector's
an Eke
items,
statue,
not the book,
or Eke statue.
Yeah.
People would buy that.
Or art books, right? Like there are
Loholt's
there
bronze
are paper
baby
products
shoes
that are still going to exist.
Well, the new book is an art book essentially. It's just loaded with art.
Yeah.
Like, I think
we way overspent on the budget.
Actually,
for
an art book's not a bad idea.
But I mean, the Imarian book of just describing the art and everything else, it
Yeah.
might make sense. But I mean, like the Pillars of Power book, there's 400 pages in there, and it is chock full of art.
Oh yeah.
Like I will tell you this: I 3 or 4 times 4x'd the art budget by pure accident. It's like, oh, I made an extra bit of money this week doing this on my job. I'm gonna dump it into art. Right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So as Beaker points out, there's also all the logistics of having to do printing physical copies.
Shipping has
versus,
become prohibitive. Absolutely.
Shipping is a problem. Yep, for sure. Jared makes, I think, probably the strongest point regarding things like Legacy of Mana. Even if you were to go to your local game store, you're not realistically going to get far enough into the book to make a decision about buying it.
Unless the gaming store is running that, like, unless they were running Imaria games, there are chances that a random person walking into a game store is going to pick up the book is fairly low.
Adrian?
Probably me.
Yeah, well, the mic's not. Yeah. Oh.
Well, I always turn myself way down
Because he's got the booming, powerful voice.
normally I blow you guys out.
We already know that his mic can be off and you can still hear him.
Yeah, we know that.
Right? We've been there.
I think that if we were going to sell them at like a local store, it would have to be like a store,
a direct sale.
Literally local to us, and it would have to be someone at the store is actively promoting it because they want to. So there was a place that used to be about 2 blocks away from where I live that has sadly gone out of business, but at the time they were down.
Which one's that?
Dragonheart Dice.
Oh yeah.
At the time, they were down to take a couple boxes of Legacy of Imaria, and they would push it, they'd be trying to push it just as a favor. They'd be like, "Yeah, we'll try to sell this as much as we can." That's probably the only way that it would likely make sense because you need someone championing it, us outside all the other options that are available.
Right.
Funnily enough, actually, I wonder if a lot of these third-party sales happen from relatives. For Christmas this year, my mom got me a third-party D&D Encounter set with minis and stuff, and I'm like, this is really cool. But it's something I never would have bought for myself.
Right. It definitely is
I always
gifts.
buy the official D&D stuff, but I never buy the third-party stuff unless it's from somebody who I want to support.
Right.
And so, they do make good gifts. If somebody's like, I know my grandson really likes
gifting
this
is not
D&D
enough
thing.
to sell enough.
No,
to
it's
make it a
not.
valuable
But I
thing.
do wonder how much of those sales are from such a thing versus to actually measure beyond kind of just word and spoken word.
Speak of the Raven himself.
Yes.
Raven makes a good point about Pathfinder. Even Pathfinder, as the second top-selling RPG, is only available in select retailers. Most of the revenue is made from their online store.
Yeah.
Which is, and even in the online store, they're going direct because they're cutting out the LGSs because of the margins and stuff and the shipping and the logistics and all that mumbo-jumbo is there. That's all That's all there.
Which is something to be said. I mean, this was a problem that TSR faced back in the day of second edition, and I think it's a problem that Wizards faces now. Is a lot of times you will ship out all your books to the stores, and they just sit on that shelf, and they sit there, and they sit there. And
Here's a good example.
And they just don't sell.
There's a very popular company that does really good product, Ghostfire.
Yes.
Okay. I picked up a bunch of their Grimm stuff. I picked up a bunch of their stuff at a really good price. That's our personal copy. I've never opened any of it. No offense, guys. Just it's just time. I do want to go in and read that stuff. I should read that stuff. Anyway, and so I bought some stuff from them. They gave me a really good deal because they needed to get some stock moving at the show. It was a particularly slow show. It was a value proposition that even if I bought them for myself, it was a good price. So I picked it up from them and I brought back half a dozen copies of these books to put on my store shelf at the round table. Crickets.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not like it's lost in a sea of third-party content. It's got its own section. Crickets. Our D&D stuff sells. Nothing else sells. And it's just like...
And even then...
And they're good stuff.
I walk by a trading post, and you guys still have, like, the collector's edition of Planescape on that shelf.
Yes.
Right? Like, some of this stuff this was a major issue TSR was facing back before Wizards of the Coast bought them, is that they had all this product that was going out to all these stores, and they were just getting reports back from these stores that it just wasn't selling. What was happening is people were coming in, and they were, instead of spending $60 on one book, they were spending $60 on Magic cards. And buying just tons and tons of packs.
Dude, I'll tell you,
So TSR was experiencing something that I think hasn't changed, which is that people are far more likely to buy a lot of little things than one big thing.
Well, I mean, like, I'll tell you, even with the Magic Online, with all, the Magic MTG Arena and all that stuff, my Magic sales are akin to my booze sales. Like, and people like their drinks. And so, they're in war for who's the higher revenue generator. And we're a cafe bar. Like, we have people drinking pints on the regular there, and it's competing with Magic sales, which is crazy. Mind you, the beer has way better margins, so come have a drink. but Magic is not going anywhere anytime soon, and they keep crashing out. This year they're crashing hard with Ninja Turtles and Spider-Man, and one fail after the next. People just don't want these third world products anymore. They want to go back.
The novelty's worn off.
The novelty's worn off now, and unfortunately, they're in a 2-year cycle. So we are going to see Star Trek and Avengers and all this other crap coming out before eventually Wizards learns their lesson and decides to stop doing the license push. Maybe that's in our area. We don't know. I mean, there is still a push for a lot of licensed stuff. I mean, a Marvel D&D book officially would be kind of cool to play in. For those of you that are into superheroes, But who knows what they're going to do? Yeah, you'd play it?
I'd play Marvel.
Would you play Marvel D&D?
I wrote Marvel D&D when I was 12.
I wouldn't touch anything Marvel at this point.
No, I wouldn't either. But would you play like I don't know, like, let's say, would you play Ninja Turtles D&D?
They did this as a video game back in the day called Ultimate Alliance.
Would you?
It was Marvel
any
superheroes
licenses?
using 3rd edition D&D stuff.
Oh.
No, I actually stay away from all licensed stuff in general.
Why?
I just assume it's crap. I figure if somebody has a good idea, they'll trust it to survive on its own.
I don't know about that. That's an interesting process, but I don't know about that. Mind you, the risk to reward for sifting through IP crap is important. Yeah. But Thundercats is not an IP crap.
I think that's a reasonable
Snarf.
I think that's a reasonable take to have. There was a time, I'm sure you remember, where video games based on movies was actually like they were good. You were like, "Oh my god, this is amazing."
To be clear,
nowadays,
I should clarify. It's not that there aren't any good licensed items, right? It's just that, broadly speaking, usually, if somebody has a great idea, they will be able to market it and sell it of its own value. Whereas an easy way to sell something that is subpar is to attach it a popular license.
That is a fair point.
It's like all crap stuff that's popular is attached to a license. Not all stuff that's attached to a license is bad.
Absolutely. Right? Shout out to Matt Forbeck from Kiwi Messiah. 100%. Matt is very proud of the Marvel Multiverse RPG. I think every time we've chatted with him at a con, he has always said how great it was to work on it and how much he enjoyed being able to delve into that world. So I'm not surprised.
Well, we're friends with Mr. Forbeck. We play games with him a lot. He is one of the nicest human beings on the planet.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's Canadian. Like, he sounds like
Basically.
Canadian.
Well, it's 'cause
Well,
he's
if you've ever
Midwestern.
seen me on stage play the character Old Jakeman, Kiwi, and when I was in New Zealand and I put those antlers on and I played the Canadian tiefling with the moose ears and the special maple syrup bottle stuff, it was his
He
way
wears
of
a hard hat.
It was his. Yeah, he wore a hard hat. I fell in love with that characterization, so I turned him into a moose antler wearing tiefling. So it's not exactly my OG character. That's why he's not part of my OG 4. But yeah, Matt Forbeck is great. But going back to the IP thing, oh heck yeah, bud! And I am Canadian. We are Canadian. Someone made a comment about me drinking Tim Hortons.
I would say Atomics. The reason the D&D release schedule for this year looks like a season pass scheme for video games is probably because all the executives are from Microsoft.
Wow.
So,
Well, no. The answer is very simple. Because it worked for video games.
that's exactly what it is. they have we talked about this on one of our streams a while back. The tabletop entertainment industry is one of the hardest entertainment industries to bring new people into because of the massive ask it takes to get them in the door. Yeah. Video games are the easiest to get people involved into, thanks to things like Steam. It is literally, you can be playing a new video game in 5 minutes if you know what you're doing. Like it's right. Because of so they're trying to replicate the success of video games. I don't think it's going to work as well as they expect it to because they're two completely different mediums.
It'll fail horribly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
you have to use a different approach for TTRPGs because of the way they are that they function. But I mean, they're going to try. They're going to try to horse armor their way into TTRPGs.
Wizards is currently signing their own death warrant is in terms of D&D because of what they're doing with the licensed IP. Because as soon as you start having it's the same reason I won't touch anything to do with Marvel at this point. It's because you had to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then you had to watch Loki and then you had to watch WandaVision because there's all these things that affect the rest of the cinematic universe, and it became complete garbage. And the comics have the same problem. They developed the same problem. Wizards is now creating that problem with D&D, where it's like, well, you'd better have the Spider-Man property in order to get this web shooter spell that you want to use on your, completely non-Marvel character.
Yeah.
So now you need $800 worth of books in order to actually, on D&D Beyond, in order to actually build your character, and that is just going to drive people away from
I expect that Atomics, I expect it's just not going to work. I mean, they tried this with Project Sigil and it failed miserably. I think they're going to keep trying it until they can't deny that it doesn't work, and at some point everything's going to end up doing what it always ends up doing, which is they're going to revert back to the thing that used to work. And they're just going to have to deal with the fact that it doesn't grow.
Well, no, they're going to have to actually embrace technology to bring people in the door.
Well, they're going. I mean, we already talked about a great way that they can do that. So go back and watch our earlier streams.
It's not that hard.
It's funny. Wizards of the Coast had this figured out back in 3rd edition, and they've just forgotten.
Yeah.
It's incredible what people forget.
Yeah.
The
TLDR is back when 3rd edition was a thing. There was a flash animation game you could play on the Wizards of the Coast website that basically ran you through a solo game of D&D with voice actors playing as the DM and another character in your party, and they taught you how to play D&D through this flash animation game.
Yeah.
My God, if they could just do that again, that would solve a lot of their problems.
Which, they could do in a week.
Rather than wasting all their time and resources on all of this other stuff, they just did that. If they could just say, go scan this QR code, learn to play D&D in 15 minutes, done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then every single tabletop game will start doing something like that.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, if they don't do it sooner or later, we'll do it for Imaria and just bring people in that way.
I mean, this is the thing. Like, at some point, that's just how you're going to have to do it. I mean, we already see this with games using apps now, right?
Yeah.
Like, this game comes with an app is kind of just something to do.
Isn't that what Infinite Stories is going to end up doing?
Yeah. Well, Pathfinder has an unofficial app, I think, because at high level, Pathfinder has so many things happening. You need an app to keep track of it all.
Well, the important thing is just that interactive introduction, getting people in the door. Infinite Stories will solve a lot of problems once you're in the door, but getting you in the door. You
The
gotta have that.
problem with the tabletop industry is getting people in the door.
Holy,
That's the issue.
okay, I'm going to call this out again. YouTube Automod just blocked. That's awesome. I can probably convince the wife to make a date day out of it.
Who's from who?
From Beaker. I'm approving
So
it right now.
Coming to round
YouTube Automod just like flagged that mess.
What?
What is
about
going
bringing
on?
families together at a table?
What is going on with YouTube Automod?
I'm gonna have a family dinner with my family who I love very much. Automod. It's like what?
What the actual hell is going on with YouTube Automod?
Meanwhile, someone earlier wrote down like, what was it? It's like, oh heck yeah, bud, which we know that reference is from heck yeah, bud, right?
Yeah, sure.
And that didn't get flagged, but saying you want to get together with your family members gets flagged.
Fucking YouTube Automod, man.
Marriage is a sin, I guess.
I guess
That got
apparently.
through.
Yeah,
That got through.
That got
no,
through
no,
just
didn't-
fine.
Didn't worry about that.
Hey, we're learning some things
Marriage
about
is
YouTube's
a sin.
agenda.
That got through.
YouTube's got an agenda. We're learning what it is.
We just
Oh
can't
my
figure
God.
out.
That's
yeah.
right.
Good
My God.
That's wild. Anyways,
Oh,
I approved
man.
it. We're all good. I just
Jesus.
the things it's flagging today are just wild.
For a second, I thought we got rated. I
YouTube
was
hates
excited.
wholesome date night discussions.
yeah.
The crafty
How
connect.
Dare you be happy?
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, no. Like I said, like I'm not in any way trying to crap on IP stuff because IP stuff can be fine. I mean, a bunch of the Lynn Vendor IP stuff, like Evil
Thundercats
Dead,
is-
the board game, loved it. It was
Yeah,
super
I mean,
fun.
yeah, but it's a simple game. Right?
Sure, but-
Evil
but
Dead
like-
as the RPG book is going to be great.
It's kind of like how the Dune RTS was like a massive industry shaker in the RTS
Yeah.
world of video games. It's like, but it was Dune. Like it was an IP game, but it completely rewrote the rules on how to do certain types
Yeah.
of video gaming.
Like,
It's like it does happen. It's weird.
It's the difference between we're going to come out with an IP property every now and then because we think it furthers the genre or the product or whatever, and what Wizards is doing with Magic and now seemingly doing with D&D, which is just we can get more people to buy it this way. And it's like, see,
Well, yeah,
that's where I have a problem with it.
It's the safe bet. It's because you can guarantee it's something you can look at numbers and say we can expect this result because we know X, Y, Z, rather than saying we have no idea who's going to buy this new set if we make a new set.
The problem I have with IP stuff in general is once you go down that path, once you go down we can expect 10% of people to buy it just because it says Spider-Man on the cover. The next step to that, and it's what always happens is, which means we don't have to try as hard in the actual creation.
Well, that's kind of what happened with the Spider-Man set.
That is
Yeah, I know.
correct. That is correct. even that is correct. That's not our creed. Though.
No, that's not what
that's
you
not
guys
what we
do.
do.
Any
But
license-
I definitely understand that you're definitely going to see. I expect on a large scale, you would see that IP stuff people are a little more lazy with because they can be, versus if it's your own idea, you can't. You have to put everything into it.
I get crippling anxiety when working in a fandom that I'm going to release a product
Yeah,
for.
that's the same for me.
Crippling anxiety because, and not that I can't satisfy everyone. There's going to be like a percentage of
Fandoms
people
are great.
that are going to be like, oh my God, you didn't capture my version of it. And I appreciate that opinion, but hey, I try my best when working in an IP to not be like, I don't go, my experience of Thundercats was this. Therefore, everyone's experience is this.
Yeah.
I come from producing film in Toronto for years, working with directors. Boy, people need to get their heads out of their asses. It's like, wow, this is my interpretation and it's my vision. And I'm like, yeah. Even Steven Spielberg turned to other people and said, "What do you think?"
Yeah.
Right? It's when you start going. It's when someone gets their head so far up their own piece that they go down a path and say, "It's my vision." That you
Read
end
the
up,
original script for A New Hope and then watch the movie, and you'll see why someone's vision should be allowed to be altered.
Sometimes it aligns, but
Sometimes it
usually
does.
the left and right hemisphere of the brain are left and right hemispheres for a reason.
Speaking as a creator and as a writer, like you get lost in your own world, in your own head, and you have to understand that sometimes you need to take a step back and say, "Hey, can you read this and just make sure?"
This is why you and I work out
this
so
works.
well, and you actually nailed it when you said you're the Tolkien and I'm the C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
And the fact that we think very differently and we can bring to the project our points of view, right? You're more like Ed Greenwood. I'm probably more like Gygax, right?
Yes.
Gygax is very like, I'm talking Luke Gygax. If you go the other way, it's
But I mean,
Arniston and Gary. Yeah. It's I'm very whimsical, you're very logical. And so together we put those two paths together, you get a good product. When I approach an IP, I don't think about it as this is how I experienced it, therefore that's how everyone should experience it. I go, this is how I experienced it, therefore that thread should be woven into it. But how did you experience it? How did you? I go to people who who are not like me at all and say, hey, have you heard of Thundercats? Yeah. Do you like it? Oh, I used to watch it back in the day. Yeah, this is what I liked about it. And I try to learn their
not
nuance of it.
Not to talk too much about Thundercats, but definitely one of my parts of research of getting into that was going on to community sites and reading the posts from community members and seeing what their theories were and what their interpretations were. And some of that made it into the book. Some of those fan theories. I was like, you know what, this is solid. I'm going to basically, not verbatim, but I'm going to use this as sort of a baseline for my own theories and kind of my own ways of interpreting things.
Wow, but also highly importantly, I know from working with both of you that when you guys are working on an IP, it's never about a cash grab. It's always you have something that you want to bring to life, and the license enables you to, at the very least, maybe get a wider audience.
That's kind of the goal, yeah.
But like I know how much time you spent slaving over the Thundercats.
Yeah, it was a long one.
There's nothing half-assed going on there. It's just that, by and large, a lot of larger companies, that's the modus operandi.
I think that's a fair assessment to make. Yeah. You can definitely take less risks when you're doing something that is weirdly enough, when you take a big risk with your own IP, you can't take any risks when making it. You have to put everything you've got into it.
Yes.
Like you can't half-ass it because it is something that needs to sell on its own merit.
It has to be better than everything else.
For Magic, Lord of the Rings and Final Fantasy nailed it.
Those were fine.
They nailed it. Yeah. And Gavin was like he had the how's my breath smell? How do I smell? Going on a date with these licenses. He told us like he was sleepless nights working on these projects. Yeah. He had nothing to do with Spider-Man. He says that. But I'm like, hey, Spider-Man. Like, I didn't work on that one. It's the first thing he says, and it's not that every
That's
set
a bit telling though. It's a bit telling.
It's pretty telling.
Right. It's like and Gavin can't work on every set, but the sets he works on, Lord of the Rings, Final Fantasy, they are bangers.
Well, they also make sense in the Magic universe.
They made more than sense.
Which is important, right? Like
they made millions of dollars.
Which is the one nice thing about the RPG world is that to some degree, any given property can make sense, but there are ones that are pretty clearly going for more of a cash grab, and ones that make sense if it has a fantasy basis, even if it's a sci-fi, like a Firefly RPG. Would be totally reasonable. I wouldn't think twice about that in terms of like, does it fit? A Spider-Man TTRPG, I'm going to look at it and be like, but why?
Yeah.
Why? Anyways.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, what, for Firefly?
No, he's saying a Firefly RPG makes sense, but a Spider-Man RPG, he'd have questions.
I would wonder why.
Can you guys be quiet back there?
Like,
Sorry.
Why was that chosen as the IP? Like a Firefly, it's like, okay, I get it. You're a fan of the show.
Also, that's a universe. You can do things with lore, whatever characters and stuff. Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah.
Well, we should. We're gonna a couple more minutes and we should wrap it up.
We should wrap it up.
Any other questions you guys have right now? Now that the viewership is up, it always comes up at the end. I don't know why.
Well,
but all I really wanted was to stall long enough to get to the 200th backer. We got it.
There you go.
No.
There you go.
So in reality, actually, we want to release products that we can sleep at night after producing. If this was about the money, we wouldn't be doing it at this stage.
No.
Well, that's echoed across the statement. I mean, you can talk to Matt Forbeck, for example, and he'll tell you the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
he's like, if I was in it for the money, I wouldn't be here.
He spent his entire life getting to a point where he can now make a comfortable living because he's Matt Forbeck, and he's 60. You know what I mean? Like, I think. Sorry, Matt. You can kick my ass later, but no, I think he's like 58 or 60.
He's 60, or he looks terrible for his age.
He looks great for his age. I'm saying 60 because he is significantly older than I am, and there's no way he's as young as he looks. I know that.
Versus Ed Greenwood.
Versus Ed Greenwood, who actually looked, if it wasn't for the fact that he had the giant Elminster beard.
The wizard look, yeah.
Imagine he shaved. He would look like he's like 48.
No, I'd rather not, thank you.
He would look like one of those bald dogs who just walks in and just, what happened to you? the next True Talk, I'm probably not for a couple weeks. Atomics, I'm going to be in England at the not this
He's
weekend,
57.
but next weekend. I'm going to be there the 29th to the 3rd. I will be in. That's 57. It's close. Thank you very much, Kiwi. Sure.
You were only up by 5%.
I'm going to be in the UK on the 29th through to the 3rd. We'll be at Birmingham for the Birmingham DreamHack. We'll be playing on stage live D&D with Jason Spizak, Carolina Ravassa, Justine Huxley, and Melanie, the celebrities. We will then also on the Monday night, which is the 1st, no joke, we'll be at the Archivist Tavern in somewhere. It's like Essex or some name. I'll find that out. But we're going to be there running D&D and doing a huge event with that store/bar. Then the next night we'll be at the D20 Cafe in Watford. Don't quote me. I have to look that up. In Watford, which is near the airport apparently, which is in London. It's a section of London, I guess.
Oh, okay.
I do not know my UK geography. I apologize. Where we'll be doing another evening with the celebrities for D&D and whatnot. And then I'll be flying home. For April, I'll be in Calgary at the Fan Expo. If you are going to be in Calgary at the Fan Expo, mid-April, and then if you happen to be from Toronto or in the Toronto area, we will be at Toronto Comic-Con this weekend with about 10 different celebrities, including Mallory Lowe from Baldur's Gate and Baldur's Gate 3, I should say, Silco and Vander from Arcane, and Crystal Lee, who played Jean Grey in the Marvel Rivals, so since we're plugging Marvel stuff, and Vanilla the Bunny, which is an interesting character, for Jenny Yokobori, who's also in Simpsons and whatnot, and then Amari Williams from Transformers, playing D&D in Toronto at the Comic-Con. If you're there, come say hi. All of our shows are posted on the website. You can come see it now. Of course, if you are a fan of what you've heard, if you think that we give a shit about IP, which we do, more than you can realize, you can only imagine how much we actually care about what we're putting out now with Imaria, because that's our IP. Meaning that if we have to pay homage and be nervous about someone who experienced Thundercats or Evil Dead or Munchkin, as we have Munchkin coming out, you can imagine how we feel about our own stuff when we want to push that out there. So the link is right there in the YouTube and on the Twitch. Feel free to click that thing. Go ahead and back it if you'd like to. We'd love your support.
Back it twice.
Twice, and we have 5 minutes to keep the train going. Actually, Backer Kit's really cool. They have a Backer Kit train. What I found out was, if you have any Backer Kit following, like if you have anybody following your profile at all, big social network, and you back the campaign, an email goes out to all your backers saying you just backed this campaign and this is cool. And then those people it brings those people's eyes to the project. So like-minded people can come, and it's like a chain reaction that goes off, and it gets people to come look at your stuff, which is why we'll be sitting here, and then you'll have like a backer train of like 6 people just appear out of nowhere because one person with a heavy following backs it, and then those 6 people jump in from their following. And then if they have followings, then it kind of chain reacts for a while. And I don't really know what the backer train's for other than just a hype train, but I've wanted to back my own project 3 or 4 times just to keep a train going, and then I realized I can't do that. So it is an addicting process, and well done. All right, so I will be in Armageddon Con in October for sure, and I'll be in Australia. That being said, we do have to go because in about 45 minutes time from now or less, the premiere of Tides That Bind is going to go live. You'll be able to chat with the people from the Tides That Bind that are not filming tonight, so Adrian will probably be there in chat. Save Owl will be there and whatnot. But we are going to be recording 3 episodes of Chumps Changed.
Speaking of which, if you look at the Patreon, QR code on screen and also link in description,
we'll say hi to the Qs.
You too can run the Blood Thistles against your party. You remember the Blood Thistles?
Remember the Blood Thistles?
You smell really good.
How you doing?
Yeah.
Do you remember the Blood Thistles from Chumps Change? They're those blood colored plants that you guys are running through.
You walk through and then it hurts you?
Yes, right.
And we kept walking back and back and back.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Come on over here, us. Let's get all the gang together. Adam, come here. No, come here. Come in mine. Yeah. We're gonna film some Deadliest Dungeon. Where's Adam? Adam.
I think Adam's in the very front, so I don't think he can hear us.
Adam.
Yeah.
What a punk.
Sure. What's that?
What a punk.
Kiwi Messiah says hi, Sam.
Hi, Kiwi Messiah.
We were having buffering issues, and they said that Nigel was chewing on the modem cables.
Yeah.
And that got flagged.
It got flagged by YouTube.
Do you remember what hi is in Maori?
No.
Kyoto.
Oh, Kyoto. I knew that. I thought it was how are you?
Kiwi also says hi to Austin.
Yes, Hello.
Technically, he
Yes.
did not say hi to Austin.
It
He
just said
said
Sam
Austin.
and Austin.
I'm reading between the lines.
It was more of a
They're screaming it into the void.
it was more of a statement than a
A
greeting.
statement, yes.
You are Austin.
Austin.
I
Yes.
think I was confused, but I'm glad we got that cleared up.
Yeah.
Where's Adam? I want Adam in here. So we
He's
got.
here.
Hey, come on over.
Down with Mary.
That's right. That's right.
Duck on down there, Jowdrad. It's the deadliest.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Wait,
They can't hear your Foley work, but it is.
it is pretty good. It's pretty good. Well, we gotta go because we gotta get dressed up. We have to go and shoot some more Deadliest Dungeon tonight in about, at this point, 41 minutes. Tides That Bind is going to go live. Every Wednesday, a Tides That Bind is going to go off. And I don't know what day we're releasing Chumps, but next week, the first episode of Chump Change, the next saga after the show, will come out. Go take a look at it. By the way, these guys did some significant work on that backer kit. On the projects
Collected
in there.
Chronicles.
And the Collected Chronicles, each of these folks have an adventure in there, written in the voice of their characters, Jowdrad, Dovrik, and Cray. Oh, sorry, Gambit.
The Cray one is you just sit on the toilet and
There's a Cray Easter egg.
Okay.
There's a Crayster egg.
No, I'm writing the Cray one.
And,
go out to all the backers.
And of course, their characters are heavily involved in the world of Imaria and whatnot. So
If you
with
ever
that,
wanted to kill Gambit, there's a stat block now.
that's easy. Everybody's killed Gambit at least once.
He has a trait called bumbling.
All right, Devin. We're trying to sign off.
Yeah, we're trying to sign off here. All right, guys. Should we just sign off the old school way?
Do it.
Now that we got these guys here, I guess this stream is Chumps Change.